Live from the Hollywood Improv, it's the Nighttime Show. With us, as always, our head writer and producer, Matt Walker. I'm the voice of the Nighttime Show, Mike Black. Our very special guest today, star of Beautician and the Beast, the Nanny, and the president of Cancer Schmancer, TV legend Fran Drescher. And now, the hot mess that even the Nanny couldn't pick up, Mr. Stephen Kramer Glickman!
Oh, wonderful. Fran Drescher, thank you so much for being here.
Yes. Thank you for having me. It's my absolute pleasure. How is everyone?
Everyone,
very terrific.
We're all doing great. I wanted to say, being as big a part of Cancer Schmancer as you are, and that this is such a huge deal to you. It's also a big deal to me. My mother had lymph node cancer, third degree melanoma lymph node cancer, and beat it about 25, almost 30 years ago, and is healthy and happy, thank God.
Mm-hmm.
So
thank God is right.
This really it hits home for me, and I know that it's something that you battled as well.
Yes, not that particular kind of cancer, although I have a dear girlfriend who is currently battling metastasized cancer, and your mom is really lucky because they told her that word even 10 years ago her battle would be much greater, but now they have some very effective immunotherapy that seems to be working very well with melanoma patients. So there's always optimism for new and innovative care for people with different kinds of cancer. I had uterine cancer, but my problem was it took me 2 years and 8 doctors to get a proper diagnosis.
Wow.
I got in the stubs more times than Django. And, it's just crazy because I absolutely had classic uterine cancer symptoms, except that I was atypical in the sense that I was young and thin, and most women that get it are either postmenopausal or obese. But 25% of the women, which is 1 in 4, are young and thin. So it seems like they should have ruled that out before treating me for a more benign perimenopausal condition. Most women don't realize that, particularly with gynecologic cancer, at its earliest and most curable, what I call the whisper stage, it mimics far more benign illnesses. And many times, these doctors subscribe to the philosophy, if you hear hooves galloping, don't look for zebra, it's probably a horse.
Right.
So if the earliest symptoms look like perimenopause, or in the case of ovarian cancer, looks like irritable bowel syndrome, they'll treat you for that and hope for the best. And that's why all too often when the symptoms really show, you're already in advanced stages.
Wow.
And that ends up being why we tend to lose our loved ones to cancer, because all too often they are diagnosed in the late stages. And so once I recovered from a hysterectomy, which was the cure for my cancer, and by the grace of God, I was still in stage 1 because it happened to be a slow-growing cancer. But had it been ovarian cancer, I would probably not be here today. Wow. I decided that I was going to write a book about it, so what happened to me wouldn't happen to other people. But then when I went on my book tour, I realized that, what happened to me has happened to millions of Americans by means of misdiagnosis and mistreatment. As an unfortunate consequence for many, late-stage cancer diagnosis when the battle is so much more difficult. So I realized that the book was not the end, but just the beginning of what's now a life mission. And I founded the Cancer Schmancer movement, the same name as the book. And I call it a movement because it's a whole new holistic approach to empowering yourself, to taking control of your body, to knowing what the early warning whispers are of the cancers that may affect you, and the tests that are available, because frankly, they may not even be on the menu at the doctor's office if they happen to be tests that your insurance may not cover. And and then you know, I also I think that you have to become better partners with your physician. You have to transform from being a patient into a medical consumer. These are all things that the Cancer Schmancer movement has coined to educate, motivate, and activate people into not being patients. The very word implies passivity. And that was just the cornerstone.
Yeah, you have to lobby for yourself.
Exactly, totally. If you don't, what are you doing? You're putting your life into someone else's hands. I don't care if they are, you know, a doctor. They're just human beings with their own problems. Yeah. And when the doctor calls and tells you have cancer, at the end of the day, he goes home and eats dinner with his family. You go home and eat your heart out with yours. Mm-hmm. So it's your life, and you got to take control of it. And that was kind of just the cornerstone. Then I began to create a whole new vision as to, well, why are we getting cancer in the first place? And why isn't anyone asking why? Why are they trying to just treat the end symptom, which is cancer?
Right.
Because, you know, cancer is kind of just the end stage of a long history of internal inflammation.
Yeah.
So what's causing the inflammation? That's causation. That's what we have to be looking at. Causation and the elimination thereof. Otherwise, this is the equivalent of like, you have an apple tree that's yielding rotten apples. What are you going to do? Try and rehabilitate each apple?
Yeah.
No, that's ridiculous. You're going to immediately look at the trunk, look at the roots, see what is causing the problem. We don't do that in most Western medicine. Right. And therein lies the rub. And that's where the movement comes into. It's really a grassroots revolution. We have to stop thinking that way because it's unsustainable to try and do that. As long as we keep not over 95% of most cancers, most disease, forget about just cancer, most dis-ease in the body is environmentally stimulated.
Yep.
So until we start looking at our environment, what we're eating, what we're, all of our personal care items, including oral hygiene, everything we clean and garden with, that's a very progressive program that we came up with called Detox Your Home, because the home is the most toxic place we spend the most time in, and ironically have the most control over.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
we have to look at that.
Yeah, in my neighborhood where I grew up, both my parents got cancer, and about a dozen people on our street. And I was like, there's something going on other than these people just randomly getting it. It's got to be more than that. And
was that area considered a cancer cluster?
Not that I know of. I don't think anyone has actually looked into it. It wasn't until my parents started telling me, oh, so-and-so down the street has cancer, and so-and-so. I was like, that seems a bit odd, doesn't it? And they were like,
were you drinking well water?
No, as far as I know, the water is actually great. Now, we are near power lines. I know that sounds like a joke, but they're like...
No, not at all. I wouldn't live near power lines.
Very close by to where we live. So,
I wouldn't live near power lines. Because, you know, that's another thing that's so archaic. We are energy fields.
Yeah, right.
You know, that's what we are. And we're in complete harmony with the natural energy of the planet and absolute disharmony with electromagnetic fields that come from electronics and electric cable lines and all of that stuff.
Yep.
And it discombobulates us and disallows our body to function at an optimum.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Yeah. Tell us a little bit about this event that you have coming up.
Oh, yeah.
Well, we put on annually a couple of things that we offer the public. And the next one that's going to be coming up will be our Masterclass Health Summit. We were actually just discussing that. Normally, we put it on in October, November, but we are concerned that maybe people might be so distracted by this year's presidential election, as well as, congressional elections,
Sure.
that maybe it's not the best time to put it out there. And since we depend on this to get an audience so that we can raise donations to keep us able to do the good work that we do, we may push it a little bit until maybe after the new year. So, but normally it's held in person and live streamed, and then it gets cut into what we call an edu series, and that's put out to the public once again, aired over like a week, several speakers each day. And then you have the right, the opportunity to buy it as a downloadable because it's so dense with fabulous information by many cutting-edge doctors and medical authors who really got woke and think outside the box, who went to medical school, drank the Kool-Aid, and then began to think there's got to be a better way and began looking at the body as a holistic approach, that it's all interdependent and interconnected systems within systems. And unless you look at, that certain symptoms are really just indicators of other things going on behind the scenes, it's very problematic. And so we want to present to the public other options so that when, God forbid, you find out that there's something wrong with you, you can make an informed decision because you don't have one slice of the pie, but the whole pie of everything that's innovative and cutting edge that's being done currently. And, we try and deal with the whole body and deal with many different specialists who are looking at the whole body too. So it's always a very, very informative, life-changing experience. And I encourage all of your listeners to go to cancerschmancer.org and sign up. That's all you have to do, and it's free. And you'll get all kinds of, ongoing updates of cutting-edge information and articles and things that we think you should be aware of. But then also, when is the next event? How can you participate in it? And things like that.
Oh,
and
very cool.
even
Love it.
right now, you can go to the website and just sign up. And then for free, we are offering so many things on our website, from our WTF, We the Future Teen program, where we're trying to get the attention of teens and tweens to actually be the change, with a very viewer-friendly, entertaining education video starring Jamie Foxx and a bunch of kids and myself
God,
and
that's
Jeff
amazing.
Bridges. Yeah. And it's got animation in it, and everybody should have their kids watch it because it's just, it's just pointing out to them what advertisers will never do.
Yeah.
Because, kids are very easily manipulated. And they're the first generation in U.S. history predicted to not live as long as their parents.
Wow.
So we don't want to make that a self-fulfilling prophecy. We want to wake them up and shake them up and motivate them to share with their family and friends and their parents what needs to be done, because they're getting inundated with toxic chemicals and carcinogens from the minute they wake up to when they go to school, to the clothes they wear, to the foods they eat. I mean, the list just goes on and on. It's just a cacophony of, hormone interrupters and disruptors and all kinds of things that are compromising optimal health. And they are our future, and they don't vote and they don't pay taxes, so they don't wield a lot of influence with our elected officials.
Yeah.
But that's where we step in at Cancer Schmancer, because we're a nonprofit and we just want to help people and create this revolution where everybody's going to ask why.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That is fantastic.
I think it's amazing, Fran. We've had around 180 to 200 or so guests on our show, and maybe, I don't know, like a tenth of those people have used their influence and their career to be able to make like a great change in the world, and to like add, aside from the work that they've done in comedy and in things like this. And it's so nice to hear that this is so important to you, because it's so important to so many other people.
Yes.
and you really are making like a huge impact by doing this.
I appreciate you saying that. And I have to say that, look, no one leaves this planet unscathed. Eventually, life's going to bite you on the ass, and you're going to say, why me, Lord? But, at some point, you have to play the hand that's been dealt you as elegant and courageously as you possibly can. And one of the life lessons that I've learned that might be helpful to your listeners is turning pain into purpose is very healing. And it also helps to make sense out of the senseless. Yeah. So, I'm not glad I had cancer, and I don't wish it on anyone, but I am better for it. It's made me a better person. It's made me a more empathic person. It's made me, a person that has a lot of purpose in their life and gets a lot of gratification from taking my personal experience and sharing it with the world.
Yeah. Absolutely. That's wonderful. Hey, Matt, before we continue this show, I got to talk about something that it's crucial to our show. Mm-hmm. If it wasn't for this company, we wouldn't really have a show.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're talking about Zoom. Okay, Zoom recorders, the Zoom Corporation, they provide us with one of the damn coolest things on the market. What are we recording our show on?
We're recording right now on a Zoom L8.
Oh, it's so awesome.
It's so cool.
It's so beautiful. We can do anything with this thing. Now, Zoom was established in Tokyo. It's based in Tokyo, and they have been equipping creators around the world, innovators in audio equipment. These guys just don't stop. Whether you're a classically trained pianist or a run-and-gun filmmaker, they have the item for you, the recorder for you. It will fit in your bag, and it will fit in your budget. And we've gotten to record our show all over the damn world.
Epcot Center, LA Convention Center, Ed Asner's house.
Oh, my God. So cool. So check out zoom-na.com. All right, let's get back to the show. We had a lot of questions. We put things out in the world to let people know that we were going to be chatting with you, and we did get a lot of questions. And one of the ones that kept popping up like again and again and again and again was Saturday Night Fever. Mm-hmm. Which is your first acting credit on IMDb. Was that your first acting job, and what was it like working on Saturday Night Fever?
I did a couple of commercials prior to that, but that was my first real acting job in a movie or in anything, really. I mean, before that, it was like a McDonald's commercial, a Dad's Root Beer commercial, all this. Type thing, but
does anything from the commercials stick out?
Well, it's interesting because, ironically, I always was a principal player, but I never actually spoke. So,
that is ironic.
The world, nobody really saw that, how to monetize the voice. I had to figure that out for myself.
But then in Saturday Night Fever, I just rewatched that scene the other day because I knew we were going to interview you, and you are sort of the impetus for him taking over the dance floor in the big dance scene of the dance movie. Like it's like the biggest iconic scene in the movie. And
Exactly.
And I never.
And many times when they show the clip, I'm standing there in the back.
Yeah, you're like in the background with your arms crossed, like you're upset
Right.
because he abandoned you to go dance by himself. And it's like
Exactly.
watching the scene. I was like, oh, I never realized you were in the background before I watched that. It's
yes.
like it adds a nice little subtle tone to that scene. Which is a
Well,
nice thing.
I wasn't directed to do that. I just did it because, I wasn't ready to, I felt like I created a little character for myself, and, she wasn't gonna be dismissed that quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And besides, I wanted more screen time.
Smart.
And I also, grabbed his ass as we were walking out to the dance floor. That was my idea, too.
Nice.
And how long did that take to shoot? Because I imagine with the choreography and that scene, like how many times did John Travolta have to do all of that?
I think that I worked there about actually 2 weeks.
Wow.
Because that was a very big dance number.
Yeah.
And then there was also when he does his scene with the brother, and then I walk up to it, and that was a whole different setup, and all the extras and everything. And he was going through a difficult time then because his girlfriend at the time, who was an actress, an older woman, she was struggling with cancer, and eventually it got the better of her.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And he was not in a great place emotionally, poor thing, and now he just lost his wife again to cancer. So it's sad. I mean, kind of we've come full circle that no one leaves this planet unscathed, and everybody is touched by this terrible disease. And poor health is the great equalizer. It doesn't matter who you are, how wealthy you are, how famous you are, what side of the political parties you align yourself with.
Yeah.
Right.
None of that matters. And that's why actually I've been a successful lobbyist in Washington, because I can speak to people that I have very little in common with, but everyone has a story to tell about how they've been touched by cancer.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And that becomes, a great unifier in a way.
Yeah.
Now, speaking of Washington, you had a resident of Washington now on The Nanny with you, Donald Trump, when he was on every sitcom in the 1990s, it seemed. I don't know.
And
I believe he was
Mar-A-Lago.
also the spokesperson for Burger King at one point. So just remember that.
Is that true?
I
He
know
was.
yeah.
He absolutely was.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. And his wife, they were already divorced, but Marla Maples was also on
Oh,
The
okay.
Nanny.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Now, what was
It
that
was
like?
all very new, the divorce.
What was it like on the set with him? Because I've heard that he was rather difficult to work with on some of these things he did.
He was not difficult at all. He was, no, he wasn't difficult at all. In the scene that I was in with him, I was standing between him and Mr. Sheffield, and I said, all you millionaires are alike. And Peter, my now gay ex-husband, got a handwritten note from somebody in his camp that said, Mr. Trump is not a millionaire, he's a billionaire, and we would like you to change that.
Wow.
And Peter, for some reason, thought that it was such a crazy thing that he actually framed it.
Really?
And he still has it.
Oh my God, that's amazing.
That's a great
I
thing
know.
to have.
And when we decided to, we wanted to accommodate him, but we didn't want to write billionaire because that didn't sound like something Fran would say.
Yeah.
Right.
So we asked if he would agree to Fran saying zillionaires.
Yeah.
and that he was okay with.
Yeah. Love it. Love it.
But he
A zillion
wasn't,
is more
you
than
know.
a billion.
He wasn't difficult at all, and in fact, I had a speaking engagement in Palm Beach. Maybe it was like a year or two after that. Maybe it was a year. And I didn't want to stay. It was speaking. I didn't want to stay in the hotel that the event was in, because then every time you're in the lobby, it's like all these people that know that you're keynoting. That you can't go anywhere.
Sure,
you know. So I wanted to stay someplace else. And I remembered that he had this hotel, Mar-A-Lago.
Mm-hmm.
So I called them and I said, it's Fran Drescher. And, you know, I remember Donald saying that he had this place called Mar-A-Lago. And I was always welcome. And I'm going with my parents to Palm Beach because I have a speaking engagement. And I was wondering if maybe, you know, we can spend a long weekend there.
Mm-hmm.
And they said, you know, it's actually a private club, but Mr. Trump, you know, likes you very much and would welcome you to come stay at the hotel.
Mm-hmm.
So we were supposed to go, but then they gave us all the dress codes. And I said, oh, you know what? I think this place is too fancy for us.
Yeah.
My dad's not going to wear, you know, a collared
tuxedo.
shirt and cuff and, you know, trousers to go to the dining room
And a top
for
hat.
breakfast. You know, it's not our scene, and I really appreciate it, but I think that it's not our style, and we like to be more casual. We want to, you know, go and have French fries and hamburgers by the pool in our flip-flops.
Exactly.
I just picture the dress
we
code.
ended up staying at the Four Seasons,
I just
away
picture.
from the... What?
I
Sorry.
was gonna say I picture that dress code being like a picture of Mr. Monopoly with like an arrow being like dressed like this with a monocle.
No, I think that it was just more very, you know, like I don't know, you know, like
Fancy.
I guess old kind of old money Palm
Yes.
Beach
Yes.
Yeah.
attire that they were aspiring to, and they're certainly allowed to, but it's just not my thing. And it's definitely not my parents, Morty and Sylvia.
Absolutely.
You know, we don't want to go to a place where we're going to feel out of place and people are going to be looking at us like, you know, who are these people?
Well, you know
Well,
what?
I
They're
invite...
letting the riffraff in now.
Right. Once things open back up, I invite all three of you to come with me to Hooters. So you're more than welcome. No dress code.
Is it organic?
It is absolutely.
Sure. Let's just say yeah.
Some of it is. Some of it is.
I can assure you there's no dress code.
Yes, that's true.
You have such a great reputation for being so kind and generous with your time and your and just, I mean, on the set of the Nanny, how like a lot of people that commented on my it sounds like I'm having a stroke while I'm telling you this. Like I'm just like a lot of people that left comments and, you know, like, and were like and questions for you had just wonderful things to say. People who worked on the show with you had wonderful stuff to say. This one of our friends, Bonnie Morgan, said that she played a nerdy, hopeful, romantic little girl on the Nanny when she was a kid, and that you wrote her the sweetest note after you guys finished filming and were like very kind to her, and she like included a picture, which was like so sweet, and then like other people from other shows that had worked on Saturday Night Live said that they always wanted to be respectful, as far as like they had heard that like some people in the cast were trying to do like impressions, and they wanted to make sure the impression was like right and nicely handled of you. But have you ever dealt with you know, people imitating you and trying to use it for other things, for cartoons, for, you know, SNL, for other stuff like that?
Oh, definitely. I mean, and I've been, they've done imitations of me at least twice that I know of on SNL, and that I've been on. They've done me on. I think it was The Simpsons. And maybe what was that other one?
Off the top of my head, I can think of. I don't know if it was a direct influence, but Harley Quinn on Batman the Animated Series comes to mind.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
Oh yeah, and there was that. I think it was Netflix Wine Country movie with Amy Poehler.
Yeah.
And Maya Rudolph, and they did a whole thing.
Yeah, it was like an art show. Did they tell you they were going to? Yeah, it's an art show, and it was all about art about you. Did you know that they were going to do that?
No, and I connected with her after, and I said, I'm so flattered. That's so nice, and might I get the prop of me painted as the Queen Mother? It could be a delivery at the front door. Just look through the people. The dog is suddenly barking. And, I get so much delivery. I have made, through this pandemic, delivery high art.
Really?
But they sometimes they don't even ring the bell. They just either throw it through the gate or leave it in front of the gate. But I have a large animal, and she's an excellent watchdog, so she just ran out of the room barking, and something's going on.
Well, so did they give you the painting?
No, I never got the painting.
Polar, come on!
I know, we had lunch one day, but I never got the painting. Oh, I would have loved it, though.
That would be a good one to have.
One of our questions that we got was from Chris Romero. He asked about your friendship with Robin Williams on the set of Jack.
Yes, well, I did 2 movies with Robin. One was Jack, and one was Cadillac Man.
Oh, wow.
And I loved him. And in Cadillac Man, I had a much bigger part than I did in Jack. I always admired him and how he functioned on a set, and how respectfully he treated everyone, from, someone that was pushing a broom to his co-stars and everyone in between. And, he always seemed to me to be a bit of a sad clown that needed a lot of caffeine to get that energy up that he had become known for. And, but he was actually a very shy, quiet person, and very gentle. And I actually was just talking about him today when I was on the phone with my mom, because, there's a lot of people that have committed suicide over the years. It's becoming more and more of a common thing that you would know someone that killed themselves.
Right.
And sad to say, but true. And
especially right now with all everyone in quarantine, people get real low,
depressed.
Because of it. Yeah.
And if you mix alcohol with antidepressants, that's like a recipe for suicide. So, it's dire times for many people, and then having fame or having money doesn't preclude you from carrying the weight of a lot of baggage from your life or life experience or early childhood that eventually just gets the better of you. Given certain circumstances.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Hey, Matt, before we continue the show, we really have something big that we have to announce. I have to announce it right now.
Okay.
It's a big deal. 2020 is a very exciting year. It's a big year, buddy, because it's the 75th anniversary.
Of what?
75 years old.
Who's 75?
I'll tell you who's 75.
It's not William Shatner. It's not George Takei.
No?
It's not Leonard Nimoy.
It's Sennheiser.
Sennheiser. Oh.
Sennheiser, the microphone and audio company, the company that provides our amazing microphones and our incredible headphones that makes us sound so incredibly
Yeah, we
amazing.
just got a whole new setup. These MD42 microphones, the HD25 headphones. These things are awesome.
I love them. And these guys, they're the top. This is top tier microphones, top tier headphones. If you are looking for audio equipment, if you're a singer songwriter, if you're a voiceover actor, if you're trying to get into the podcast game, Sennheiser is the way to go. If you're an audio engineer, don't go anywhere else. Go straight to Sennheiser. If you have someone in your life that loves audio, this is the place to do it. Sennheiser's the way to go. Go to Sennheiser.com. That's Sennheiser.com. And all right, let's get back to the show. Absolutely.
Now, you were also in a couple movies that we consider classics for sure. One of which is This Is Spinal Tap.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
We have like 45 people ask about This Is Spinal Tap. Like,
Yeah,
comment
I know
after
it's
comment. People really
That's
want to know
cool.
about that. What was that like? What was that set like? What was that like to work on?
Well, it was I was shooting a Dan Aykroyd movie called Dr. Detroit.
One of my favorite movies ever.
Wow, thank you.
I love that movie.
And Donna Dixon and Dan Aykroyd met on that movie,
Oh, I
and
didn't know that.
ended up, ultimately getting married. And I, to this day, I'm very dear friends with both of them, and
Oh, that's so
was
cool.
always the legal godparent to their 3 daughters. Should anything happen to them, and they actually needed somebody to
Oh,
take
that's
care
awesome.
of them. Now they're all grown women in their 20s, but we're all very, very close. And like what I like to call not a biologic family, but a logical family. And so I was doing night shoots with on Dr. Detroit when Rob Reiner called me in to meet on Spinal Tap. And I was told that there really wasn't a script. There was just an outline. It was very low budget. Everybody was just getting scale and blah, blah, blah. And I went in after shooting all night. So I was kind of low energy
Yeah.
and very monotone in a way. And Rob said to me, this really isn't what I was picturing, but now that I'm seeing it, I kind of like it. And I knew that they were excellent comic actors, and you had to be good at improv, and, I am.
Yeah.
So I got the part, and we had a 27-page outline, and with every scene that we shot, there were just certain story points that you had to hit within the improv. And that was, and it didn't take a long time to shoot, at least not, I only worked on it a few days. And there were, mostly party scenes and things. And I think I had a little bit of a cold or a sore throat or something. I couldn't wait for it all to be over. But I was huge fans of all the people. It was just a parade of talent.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody wanted to be a part of it. And it was Rob's, cinematic directorial debut.
That
He had
is
directed a couple
unbelievable.
of things on TV, but that was the beginning of a very illustrious film career.
Oh, yeah.
And I feel very lucky. I've actually been a part of a few music-driven movies. Of course, Saturday Night Fever.
Yeah.
And then a much rarer known film, American Hot Wax, which starred, me and Jay Leno were in it. Lorraine Newman was in it.
Wow.
And that was a very music-driven movie about the 50s music and the whole payola scandal with Alan Freed, the famous DJ.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, how the black music was beginning to cross over into white listening audiences, and how there were certain, conservative groups that were very opposed to it. And Alan Freed, was driving that engine as much as anyone at the time. He really thought that there was great music happening within the black community, and he was determined to bring it on a more national scale. But they ended up getting him on, I guess, tax evasion, because payola was very popular at the time.
Oh, yeah.
And a lot of very powerful DJs would take money to play the music.
Wow.
And
for the record, anybody who wants to pay me to play their band on this podcast, I will take your check.
No shame. Just claim it, baby.
I will.
Just
I will
claim
claim.
it.
I'll put it on my taxes, but I will take your money.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the important part.
Well, they wouldn't have cared either, I guess, if he claimed it. But, you know, it was all kind of a little under the table, but whatever.
Yeah, it's the whole shell game aspect that they don't like.
Yeah, yes. Well, when they don't like something that you do, they usually go after your taxes.
Yeah. Yep. The old Al Capone strategy.
Yes, and they always find something
Oh my
if
God.
they want to nail you to, a cross.
Now,
So that's what that movie was about, and the reason why it never went beyond cable reruns was because at the time it was a Paramount Robert Stigwood film. They didn't really anticipate the subsequent versions that the film could be shown in any other format.
Oh,
So
okay.
they only made the deal for movies and cable. And they never were able to release it on VHS or DVD.
Oh, man.
And nothing like that. And that's why a lot of people don't know about it. But once in a while, you will see it on cable. And the music that they had was so incredible, they couldn't possibly renegotiate it all. It would have been
Licensing
too
that must be a nightmare.
expensive.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, they had everybody, real people from the 50s, like Jerry Lee Lewis, and, just amazing talent. I can't think of all the names right now, but really wonderful.
Just Jerry Lee Lewis alone is pretty amazing.
Yeah, seriously.
Get him involved in it.
I know, but there were a lot of people, and it was really great songs, even with actors, singing groups to play 50s groups, singing things like, Shirelle's music and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Now you've been on a lot of talk shows over the years and spoken with some terrific talk show hosts, including Johnny Carson. Is that correct?
I did, but I never actually was interviewed by Johnny. Jay Leno. I was interviewed by Jay Leno, who was sitting in for him. Yeah.
Right. Okay. As well as you did David Letterman. Is that
Yes.
correct? And one of my favorite talk shows of all time, Space Ghost, Coast to Coast.
Oh, wow.
Ah.
It's sad that that's the one that impresses
I
me the
mean, I
most.
did
I'm like, oh, wow,
Conan.
she
It's a
did
pretty
that.
big deal. Pretty big deal for us.
I did Conan O'Brien. I really did them all, and most recently I was on Seth Meyers.
Oh,
cool.
He's wonderful. Well, you're the TV show that you were doing over at the Indebted show. That's with that show was Dan Levy's show, who's a friend of our show, and he's been on Nighttime Show a bunch. And
Now, it's not Dan Levy from Schitt's Creek.
no, it's the other Dan Levy.
Oh, okay, it's the other one.
Yeah, it's the Goldberg's Dan Levy, the guy who was over.
Yes,
on
exactly.
Goldberg's.
One of them has to
Exactly.
change their name. It's too much.
Yeah, it's
I
too many.
know.
Too many.
I
You can't be in the
know.
same business with the same name.
But
It's
you
too-
were so
Well,
fantastic on that
technically,
show. We
The
loved
Schitt's
that show.
Creek guy calls himself Dan Levy.
Oh.
Because
but I still feel like when they say Dan Levy, more often than not, they're not talking about my Dan.
Well, I love him. I think Dan Levy is a great guy.
Let's just call him Fran Drescher's Dan Levy.
All right, well, Fran,
cut all the
we
confusion.
love Fran Drescher's Dan Levy. We love Adam Paley. We loved Abby Elliott, and of course Steven Weber, who's been on our show. And
or you know what? How about
love
just
Mr. Weber.
make it easy? Fran's Dan.
Fran's Dan.
Yeah.
I like that.
There we
We
go.
can do that.
Dan is great. Yeah.
Well,
you know, we didn't get picked up.
I know, but it was
fun
so
while it
good, though.
lasted.
It's such a great show.
It was fun. You know what? I think that we were an unfortunate byproduct of this pandemic.
Yeah.
Nobody's back in business, and when
Yeah.
they needed to pick us up, you know, it would have been a pay or play. I mean, for a network to pick us up and then say, but can you wait until this is all over?
Yeah.
You know, it doesn't really work that way because it's a union show, and at some point they'd have to start paying us, whether they were able to make episodes or not.
Yeah.
And you know, the thing is, you've popped in and you've done other shows. I mean, Happily Divorced was a terrific show, and you've done other. You know, I know that you did a spot on Broad City and on Alone Together, and lots of other really, you know, Entourage, things like this. But what's it like for you being the star of a show, or being one of the stars of a show again? What was that like? You know, again, doing that thing. You know.
Well, you know, I realize that I really can't do a series unless it's my project and I'm writing it and executive producing it.
Yeah, I get
because that's like clipping my wings, and I don't want to just be a gun for hire.
Yeah, well, you're a comedy master. Like you have been doing, you know, comedy, you know, for a significant amount of time, and people, you know, people fucking love you, Fran. So like they want it to be your voice, you know.
Yeah. So you know, I think in a way the fact that we did it and I met great people. We didn't mention Jessie Hodges, but she was great too, playing my daughter.
Oh, sure.
And you know, it for the time that we did it and the people that I got to meet, you know, it was well worth doing. Would I, if it got picked up, you know, maybe I wouldn't have been the one clicking my heels, because it's hard for me to not have my hands in every part of the creative process. And I realize that. So now, you know, you live and learn.
Absolutely.
I mean, you've earned the right at this point in your career to go in and sort of call your own shot, and I think it's important for you to be able to do that.
Or just
you know, sometimes you get to, you say, maybe you don't have to work so hard. Maybe it'll be fun just to check in, do your job, and go home. But for me, it doesn't work that way, and I see that now.
Yeah.
You know, so I
It's
mean,
a good thing to know, you know, about yourself.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, and that was the opportunity.
When you were doing Nanny, like how involved were you in the process of that show?
I created it,
Right.
and I executive produced it, and I directed some episodes. I wrote on every episode. I broke almost every story.
Wow.
And
Amazing.
I had something to say about absolutely everything.
That's awesome.
Amazing.
So,
Amazing.
you know, and I think I was one of the first women to be doing that in the early 90s. It really, so...
I didn't know you were wearing all those hats doing that. That's amazing.
That's incredible. There was a question that popped up that is very specific to you and to that show too, is what was your favorite outfit from The Nanny? And how do you feel? This is from Ashley Drew Jones. She's sometimes on our show and lovely. And she said, "What was one of your favorite outfits on the show, The Nanny? And how do you feel that the fast fashion scene, Fashion Nova, is basically copying some of your exact looks today and selling those looks on their website?"
You know, first of all, I'm totally down with it. I think that it's so great and cool. And I love that, you know, I have this millennial fan base that most of them were either babies when I was doing it, or just really young kids, and so the show turned into a classic, and its longevity just is mind-blowing to me because it all started in my head, and I remember when that happened. And the look of the show was a collaborative effort between me and Peter and Brenda Cooper, who won an Emmy for it. And we're all still dear friends to this day. And I think that, it's great. I mean, I'm aware of all the Instagram things that pay homage to the nanny and the clothes and all of that. And it's great. And I'm thrilled.
That's so cool.
I love that. Before we wrap up, we have one other question, and that is it's a broad question, but it is a good question. Beautician and the Beast. How did that come about? You have so many fans of that film, and it is so incredibly funny. How did that film come about, and how did you end up enjoying making it?
Well, again, I kind of had the idea, and Peter and I and our good friend who was already an established screenplay writer, Todd Graff, pitched it to Paramount Studios, and they bought it. And so, we all kind of developed it, and then Todd turned it into a screenplay, and we were involved, we were all producers on it, and it was an amazing experience because we got to go to Prague, the Czech Republic, for about a month to shoot it.
Nice.
Wow.
Sadly, my marriage was not in a good place then. And I often think about that when I think about the shooting of that movie, what was going on behind the scenes. Peter's and my marriage to each other began to deteriorate around halfway through the series, and then eventually we separated, and then we got back together, and then we separated again. And that second separation eventually turned into a divorce. And so, but I'm very proud of it. I loved working with Tim Dalton, and Sherry Lansing was the president of Paramount at the time.
Yeah.
First woman to run a studio. And she said to me years later, the studio's still making money off of that movie. And even though it wasn't a huge box office hit, and that was because they released us the same weekend as the very first re-release of Star Wars.
Oh yeah.
My God.
For some reason, I think they underestimated how popular that would be. But it was kind of overlapping audiences because a lot of the people that grew up on Star Wars brought their kids to see it.
Yeah.
And so we were a family picture, and they were a family picture. And we kind of, just...
Well, and you were probably getting all the business that was sick of Star Wars too. That were like anything else. We got to watch anything.
No, it
but Star
really
Wars.
wasn't. It wasn't enough business. They kind of wiped us off the map, and so we were a non-start. We didn't really ever open big enough, and but then the audience found us when it started playing on cable and on DVDs and VHS and all of that, and it has had this incredibly enduring, quality to it that Sherry said to me, believe me, the studio wishes every movie was like that because the big blockbusters are few and far between, and most of them, don't ever find an audience and don't continue making the studio money for decades after the film was made.
Right. Sure.
So, on the one hand, maybe I would be a bigger movie star if it had opened big, but on the other hand, I'm very proud of it, and it continues to endure.
Yeah, my mom's such a big fan of that movie too, and we've watched it together many times. And I always, of course, compared it to Beauty and the Beast, but she looked at it as like an updated version of Sound of Music, where she saw that side of it, which that was like her favorite movie. So, and she loved.
Well, that actually was the pitch for the Nanny. What do you think about a spin on the Sound of Music? Only instead of Julie Andrews, I come to the door.
Oh my God, that's amazing!
So that was the impetus. That was our.
Of course.
That was our pitch line to the network.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
And
that's brilliant.
they just got it so clearly. When we did that. So by the time years later we were still in production on The Nanny, but we decided to produce The Beautician and the Beast.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't that big a stretch, and it did have some Sound of Music in it, and it did have some King and I.
Yeah, totally.
It was rooted in a lot of those classic type movies that all spin around that same kind of premise.
Did you ever do Broadway? Have you ever?
I did.
What did you do?
I did. I mean, I've done a lot of theater, but the Broadway I did was Cinderella on Broadway about 7 years ago, and almost 7 years ago, maybe 6.5 years ago. And I played the wicked stepmother.
Oh my God!
And
amazing.
I had a very Cruella de Vil interpretation.
Oh, very cool.
And I was very glamorous and sometimes very funny and sometimes very cruel. And, I wanted to create a character that, you loved to hate.
Yes.
Not just that you hated and wished somebody would kill me, but that you actually loved to hate me. You were looking forward to having me come out. And it was a phenomenal experience. I favored every minute of it, and I kept extending my run because it was such a joyful experience.
Is there any other Broadway musicals that you would like to do in the future? Anything else that you're a big fan of that way?
No, I don't really. I mean, there's many Broadway musicals that I love and enjoy, but I don't really see myself in many of them.
So, are you saying we're not going to see Fran Drescher starring in Hamilton?
Come on! That I will watch.
I know, it's true. Look, the day can come when I could do Mame or Dolly or things like that.
Cool.
Yeah.
But those are kind of old chestnuts, and I'm not excited about it. I think that Midler did a great job, and, it's Ganoga ready with that. But for me, I mean,
I get that.
She pulled in a great audience and everything, but I think at this point, because it is very physically challenging to do a Broadway musical, I would rather do like a 90-minute, one act, no intermission, maybe a comedy, without any costume changes.
Sure. Yeah.
And
absolutely.
I would enjoy doing something like that that isn't as physically taxing.
Well, Fran, we absolutely love you, and you know, anybody listening to this, go to cancerschmancer.org and go and check that out and sign up, watch the videos. There's so much great stuff on there. Any place that social media stuff as far as where people can follow you or find you?
I'm official Fran Drescher on Instagram, and at Fran Drescher on Facebook and Twitter. And usually I post on Instagram and then I click the other two. And then cancerschmancer.org has a website that, we're all always feeding each other information and sharing stuff and posting stuff. And, I have a large fan base that is very engaged in the Cancer Schmancer movement too, because I guess I'm kind of a trusted brand and I come across, thank God, as authentically as I hope to, because I like to be an open book and share my experiences for the greater good. And so it's all a little interconnected and very fluid. And so, yeah, check out Cancer Schmancer on Instagram and check out the official Fran Drescher.
Cool. Wonderful. Mike Black, where can people find you?
All over social media at Mike Black Attack.
Matt Walker, what about you, buddy boy?
I've got links to everything at funnymatt.com, or if you're upset by me in any way, let me know at mattwalkersucks.com.
Love it. People do actually do that. That is 100% real. You can always get me at Stephen Glickman, STPHEN, Glickman on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok, because I am the oldest possible person on TikTok. It's very depressing. I do not belong there. You can always get me on LinkedIn if you're over 75 years old. Don't forget to subscribe to the Nighttime Show podcast and leave us comments and share. Fran Drescher, you are a national treasure. Thank you so much for doing the show.
Thank you, and I do appreciate you guys, and be well, and I hope all your listeners are well too. And hang in, people, because there's always silver linings in even the darkest of clouds.
Well, thank you, Fran.
Thank you, Fran.
Bye.
Take care and be well. Bye-bye.
Oh.